welcome to a new video. Today it's a special one. We are at Mizuno Works, and it's literally a shop that I've been meaning to visit for so many years because they build some of the nicest kyusha cars around. But before we start the tour, as ever, make sure you subscribe. It really helps us bring the content from Japan. And we're really close to the 100K mark, so the more help, the better for us. So let's get on with this really special tour today. And just about as I was getting on with the tour of Mizuno Works, a really special car is arriving, one that Mizuno-san has made sure to bring today, especially for me, to show off what he's able to create. This is one of his demo cars that we're going to be taking a closer look at later on. Completely customized Yonmeri.
Mizuno Works の水野です。よろしくお願いします。平成8年から元は自動車板金塗装と FRP をメインとしたことをやってます。で、もともとそういうエンジンとかも好きだったので、ドラッグレースなんかも参戦していきました。
Right, and to get started, we're just going to take a quick look at the cars that are parked outside the main building. There's actually 3 buildings, plus something really special at the back, which you guys, I'm sure, are going to be really impressed with. Starting off with this 61 Mark II Cresta. So this is the Eagle face car, a very rare and much sought after version of the GX61. I love how smooth it is. Even the wipers are kind of recessed behind that panel, so everywhere you look, it's super smooth. And if you notice, they even shaved the rearview mirrors. Love this style so much. So full Mizuno Works demo car, and right behind it, one of his old S30 demo cars that used to be actually used for drag. And there's just so much gold around here, scattered. Another S30Z here with the long nose. And as we will see, there's going to be some amazing wheels to kind of drool over inside the shop. Let's go and take a look at this 4-door Hako sitting back here. Beautiful car that Mizuno-san has sitting on a set of Watanabe wheels. I noticed that there's a lot of these massive long FRP side panels. As Mizuno-san was saying, one of his side businesses is actually creating custom FRP parts for trucks. Actually, one of the biggest parts of his business. And as we go to the back here, I'll just show you a quick peek of what I'm talking about. We'll get to that in a second. Right, let's walk back from front of the main shop and go inside the main workshop where cars actually get worked on.
そうですね、メインはボディです。オーバーフェンダーがやっぱり基本的にもう最初に出したのがオーバーフェンダー、うちのオーバーフェンダーで、オーバーフェンダーとか、フェンダーの叩き出しだとか、そういうのがメインだと思います。やっぱりケンメリと豚ケツ、そこら辺がメインですかね。水野は名字なんですけど、名前が水野で、ワークスに関してはその当時僕もオーバーフェンダーとか、固定観念がちょっと日本人ってあって、結構もうレースで使われてたワークスとかしかなかったので、ちょっと違う形のオーバーフェンダーを作る、ちょっとオーバーフェンダーよりでかいワークスっていう形のを作り始めたのがきっかけだと思います。はい。
And as you come in here, you're instantly greeted with an L-series motor on an engine stand waiting to get rebuilt. This is a really amazing place. Mizuno-san has been in this place for 25 years, and in the meantime has been stocking up so many parts around this whole building that most people are going to just drool seeing it. And of course, center stage here, another customer Z being worked on, running. Can't really see them, but the Mizuno Works exhaust manifolds that he's so famous for. There's actually a set up here that you can see better, parked next to a bunch of other manifolds, starting from that blue one down there, which is a Trust Takohashi for a 1G, then the Mizuno Works version for the Toyota 6N and 7N, and we go all the way down here to probably his best seller, the L-series 48mm manifold, all stainless steel, all hand built. Beautiful car. Love it when these cars are still running the original L-series. But let's keep walking and let's take a look back here at, I guess, the engine and transmission stockroom. As you walk in, L-series on the floor. There's a 12A rotary engine that is actually blown. More L-series all the way to the back, past countless gearboxes, heads, cam covers, cranks, oil pans, old manifolds, and a ton of engine blocks. This place is incredible. And I just love how it's just naturally kind of aged. The dust, how it's kind of like settled on parts that have been sitting for so long, like these manifolds. Take a look at that. All down to these old engine blocks. And you know, these parts are just so rare these days that it's no surprise that shops like Mizuno Works are just always stocking and keeping everything, because it's just so difficult to find OEM stuff and old tuning parts. Back here we have a few bit of everything really, even lights. We got a couple of heads here. You can see how the single cam head looks like the L-series. Gigantic valves. Over here some intake manifolds and carburetors. And turning around here, so I actually lost it when I saw this. Look at this stack of vintage steering wheels. It's incredible. So cool. So much to look at, including tons and tons of G-Works magazines and Nostalgic Hero, just stacked up and tied up together. Custom car magazine, a couple of radiator fans. There's just so much. Even a little dash panel with some old Kamiari gauges, fuel and oil. Some gurachan plastic models that are still not being built yet. Shift knobs. Oh my god, look at this. How cool is that? That is sick. And when I said he really does keep everything, it's really right down to the nuts and bolts. And you can see just how many wheels there are up there. Focus Racing, Shadow, all the way to these long champs in the right sizes for that Hippari look. 12.5Js, boxed Star Sharks. This place is a gold mine. And then there's this little separate garage here with another of Mizuno-san's projects, another Cresta. This is actually running a 2J swap. One he hopes to finish in the next few years. Of course, he has to concentrate on customer cars, but just look at the amount of bikes in here. I even spotted a drag Kawasaki here. Just look how that trailing arm has been extended. Back here, stacks and stacks of wheels and tires. Lots of stretch, old school racing tires, wets and slicks, and just more parts. So many parts. Even a pachinko machine. That's so cool. Right up against the wall there. I wonder if it's plugged in. And as I walk past even more bikes, I spotted this massive collection of really old Auto Works magazines. I think he's got the whole entire collection. G-Works right here at the top. More G-Works down here. And even Champ Road. This is like the choice magazine for your bosozolu, Kaido Racer type guy in Japan. Includes a bit of everything, including tattoos. Not sure if we can show that. Interesting stuff. So Japan, it hurts. Here's another one from 2006. And speaking of bosozolu, there's even a bosozolu bike cow up here. There's just so much stuff. And here's the back of the Cresta. Super lucent. Right back here, I even spotted a custom Honda Cub with that pink Honda logo there on the side, and this really cool 80s scooter. These things are worth a ton of money. I think this place has probably got so many parts stacked that it's like literally sitting on a fortune. Absolutely incredible.
ワークスとかに関してはどうですかね。やっぱりレーシングタイヤって言って アドバンレインとかブリヂストンレインとか、ダンロップとかそういうレーシングタイヤを履くのがかっこよく見えちゃうというかかっこいいと思うんですけど、ノーマルフェンダーとかに関してはもうラジアルタイヤで僕は60タイヤとかをその当時だともう65タイヤしか多分なかったと思うんですけど、扁平にしてもやっぱ60タイヤなのかなっていうのが、ちょっと僕の中ではあります。あとはインチ数に関しては特に、基本的にこだわりはないんですけど、メインはやっぱり13インチから14インチ、そこら辺がメインだと思います。で、最近になって16インチの Z を自分も作ったりして、やっぱりいろんな人の車を見てて16インチもかっこいいなとか、そういうのはちょっと感じて作ったりもしてます。
Alright, let's continue the remainder of the tour of this amazing place, and we go into the workshop where Mizuno-san actually makes all the FRP parts by hand using these molds for the trucks that I mentioned. So these are super popular and he sells a ton of them, keeps the business running for the cool, interesting car stuff. And boy does it smell of chemicals in here, resins and so on. All right, I'm gonna walk to the next building over, which of course is still part of Mizuno Works, connected to the main older workshop here, and still driving the Yonmeri, and we'll take a look at what is inside here. Okay, so let's take a look at the cars in here. There's an old Mazda Familia here, and it just keeps going with even cooler cars. There is a nice Yonmeri here that's seen better days, maybe one to get restored. Proper bosozolu car, nice Butaketsu Laurel here in the midst of a restoration, and of course all the Mizuno Works fender flares they get applied to his cars. Over here there's just so many parts laying around, literally a warehouse of really rare parts. Look at this, Yonmeri grills, GTR even grills, absolutely incredible. Just look at the amount of vintage wheels here, so sick, so much to look at. And one of my favorite here is actually, well, this one's pretty cool too, the Bilbo, but the Sakura. Oh, so it's time to head out and take a look at the back. As I showed you before, things get really interesting when you go and check out the actual main parking, which is at the back of the main building. This is where Mizuno-san keeps some of his new projects, some of his old projects, and some of the customer cars that he's currently working on. And just look at this selection. Really cool space with the Mizuno Works graffitied logo there at the back, and there's just so much to drool over. A couple of Yonmeris here, a Butaketsu Laurel, a Bluebird. This is Mizuno-san's own, he called it Boroi Butaketsu. Boroi means like really badly left to kind of deteriorate. Just look at the rust on this thing, but boy does it look cool. Kind of like a rat rod approach to what is literally my favorite kyusha, the Butaketsu Pig's Butt Laurel. A couple of more Yonmeris back here. This is obviously going to be seriously widened. It's been prepped with FRP, so the overfender is going to go on. This is probably a parts bin. Next to it, Mazda RX-3, something that is extremely rare in Japan. You just don't see these cars too often, and the lineup just keeps going and going. Another Yonmeri here with a GTR grille and another Mark II Grand. Look at the shark front on this one here, and check this out. This is a CBY Crystal Body Yokohama A86. If you haven't seen the shop tour that we did on CBY, make sure you go and check it out. That place is equally amazing and churns out some of the best Hachirokus in Japan. This is a very special kyusha cemetery. About 15 years ago or so, maybe a little bit less, I did a story on Speed Hunters called the Kyusha Cemetery, and that was basically Rocky Auto's kind of stockpile slash junkyard of cars and parts that he had in one of the many fields that he owns around the Okazaki area. It was a really cool post to put together, and I think it did really well. And you know, it's always cool to see kind of abandoned cars in Japan like this. So let's check out what Mizuno Works has been stocking over the years. There's just so much. And these basically have just been used as donor cars for some of the restoration work and builds that Mizuno-san has done over the years. There's a few Hakoskas, coupes and two-doors. Those cars are so far back in the overgrown section of the junkyard you can barely make it out. That's a Super Celica back there. I think that's a Yonmeri. And as we keep going, it just gets better or sadder, depending on how you take this kind of thing. Of course, some cars like these need to be sacrificed for the greater good, but it's always so incredible to come across something like this. Like, this is even a Crown wagon. You often see these kind of cars to Moon Eyes events completely built up with really cool engine swaps. An R30 Skyline, another Super Celica back there. This used to be a Hakoska. Over here we have a very, very long S130 Fairlady Z. So this is the 2+2 version of the Z that came after the S30. This was actually used at Fuji Speedway by Mizuno-san's brother, and you can tell it was fully made to look like an exaggerated works race car, which is what the bosozolu cars have always been trying to replicate. It's basically trying to take that race car look and bring it to the street and just make a ton of noise. That's basically what it comes down to. As we go past here, there's another Hakoska here, a two-door, and even a cool AT scooter. I know these are actually really popular these days. I'm not too familiar with what they're called, but this shape is pretty unmistakable. More Hakoskas back here. Look at that. If that's the original blue, that is a true pity. Another R30. Sorry, no, this is a Skyline Japan, and it just keeps going. But before we get down there, I just wanted to kind of walk past here, see if I can get through. There's radiators being stacked up here, gearboxes, suspension, L-series engine block, and oh my gosh, is this a Cosmo? I'm not even sure what this is. That is absolutely unbelievable. That's crazy. Well, it's definitely a Mazda. Oh my gosh. On the back of the truck, some parts just kind of stacked up in there. And on the other side of the S130, let's go back past this really cool and very small 80s scooter. It's a little Honda, not even 8,000 kilometers on the odometer if it hasn't rolled over. And let's see if I can make it. All right, let's continue on this side. I literally had to cross under this little mini digger. More scooters, more parts. I'm just getting so many mosquito bites, but it's okay. It's all for the video, right? Oh, so much gold. Another Fairlady Z, another Skyline. Wow, what a place. So much to look at. So many parts. And then just as you thought it's all ended, you get to a stack of vintage wheels. Oh my God, please look at this. Can you guys actually see? There's a bit of everything. God, if you actually had the time to come here and literally catalog everything, I think this would literally be an entire goldmine of stuff. I'm gonna get past here and see if there's anything else to look at. Back here, a few more body parts. But yeah, absolutely incredible. So there you have it. What an amazing guy. And what an amazing collection of parts and cars. Absolutely blows my mind. All right, so we've taken a look at the shop. Next up, Mizuno-san organized for a couple of his really good customers to bring their two demo cars here. So basically they collaborated with a couple of customer cars to create two Mizuno Works demo cars, and they're absolutely beautiful. Basically they're here waiting for us, and we're gonna go for a drive and get some rollers of the cars and then head off to a little nice venue to kind of walk around the cars and kind of explain what has been done to them. And these are the cars in question. So we have a beautiful Yonmeri, so it's a four-door Yonmeri, over fenders and everything. And then this very special Mark II Cresta, and we'll get into why this is special in a second. So we're doing some rollers with the Yonmeri right now, and it's really ridiculous. This actually followed this car from the back. It's got so much negative camber and so much stretch on the rear wheels. The contact patch is like literally that wide. Really cool looking thing. You don't get to see cars like this out in the open these days. So we've taken the Cresta and the Yonmeri out for a drive and parked up in this really nice location along a riverbank just to kind of take a closer look at these cars, and especially this GX61 Eagle Eye Mark II Cresta. This is very, very rare. It's the GX61 to have, and it's just a beautiful looking thing. It just sits so nice. You just put it in any background and it just stands out. I just love how the C-pillar is tilted so forward. It kind of looks like a coupe, but of course it's a sedan. Pillarless doors, of course, front and back. So when you open, no pillars come with the doors. And of course, Mizuno-san basically created custom fenders for this to kind of have the car sit static this low. Then adding the side skirts here and the interior. Just look at this interior. This is 80s awesomeness. Velour across the entire cabin, rear seat bench, and you gotta have the tiny little Mizuno Works steering wheel, of course, wood. I love the digital display and just the squareness of it all. It's so angular in design, and the browns. Look at the different browns across the console. These are just amazing cars. So photogenic, and of course it's that front end that gives it the name Eagle Mask, with that kind of protruding front grille section just above or in front of the headlights, and the rear, of course, with that kind of sloping down trunk line, and then twin pea shooter exhaust. I just love how, you probably notice in the driving footage, how the rear tail lights light up. They have this beautiful 3D effect, and they're just massive, massive lights. And then, of course, over to the Yonmeri. So this is the C110 four-door, basically the four-door version of the Kenmeri, hence the Yonmeri, as Yon means four in Japanese, for four-door. And again, the most Japanese cars you possibly can find. This one has the proper race buckets, kind of inspired by the Datsun race seats. Nardi steering wheel. It has an additional aircon unit there on the passenger footwell, and a speaker setup on the seats too for some reason, which kind of matches up to these famous Pioneer TSX15s. Now, as you've seen from the back as we were driving, the rear end of this car has been completely modified. Bumpers have been removed, it's all been cleaned up. The recess for number plate has been removed. Only two rear afterburner tail lights remain, and it gives the car that kind of bosozolu feel. Just look at how this car sits. So the Mizuno Works overfenders have been applied so that the car can sit on these massive 12.5J Cross Fever racing wheels on stretch 260 533 14-inch race tires. Up front we have some Toyo Proxys and 9J wide wheels, and just look how aggressive it is from the front. I love the yellow most inner headlights and that bucktooth lower spoiler, deppa as they call it in Japanese. All right, let's take a look at the engine here. So the Yonmeri originally came with the L20, so 2-liter straight six, but Mizuno Works swapped in a 2.8 version of the L-series, so the L28, and it runs a high lift camshaft and some 44mm Mikuni carbs. Of course, you know, these engines are not really built for power. It's more kind of developing the response needed to kind of get that soundtrack these cars are so famous for. And of course, soundtrack wise, it all starts right here with the Mizuno Works headers, which you can just see there, separated with that plate underneath the carbs. Coolest thing of all, of course, the air horns. So we're gonna do a little test with these at the end of the shoot, just so we don't make noise and terrorize people. So we'll do that at the end and then kind of run away. And one cool detail I spotted is this Showa era Fanta bottle acting as a radiator overflow tank. Now that is so cool. All right, so over to the GX61. So this car runs the 1GGE, so Yamaha head on this straight six 2-liter engine. This is called the Aohedo in Japan. Usually it comes with silver cam covers with the blue lettering, but it's been repainted all in black. And to get the sound just right, you can see the Mizuno Works headers right there. So of course with these cars, ride height is extremely important. The way they sit has to be nailed when you're kind of modifying the car. So the reason these tires are so stretched is because they have to kind of tuck in there just enough to kind of get that hippari look, which is kind of like perfectly represented here on the back. And yes, they ride very, very hard, but who cares when they look this good? So these are the famous Kenwood 7070 speakers that have the winker built in, so the indicator, as well as other options for lights. So very, very rare speakers, extremely expensive, and a bit difficult to see during the day. All right, we're gonna adjust for another cool angle, just to highlight these two cars. So we're indulging in some more angles here. God, these things look so good, so aggressive. And soon we get to hear the horn of the Yonmeri. So like I was saying, this is a 2.8 straight six L28, about 180 horsepower. Not, you know, like I said, it's not built for power. These cars are built for sound and response. I feel sorry for asking these guys to move their cars continuously because they don't have power steering, so especially the Yonmeri. I'm not sure about the Cresta, but yeah, what a pairing to be shooting today. So happy I finally made time to come to Mizuno Works and see the stuff that he builds. All right, we're gonna hear the horn on the Yonmeri. I do wonder what it plays. Okay, I think it needs a bit more air. There it is. Trying to fix the horn, the Fiam trumpets. 1, 2, 3. It's blocked. We're missing a note, guys, but it's okay. It's cool enough. All right, I'm gonna end the tour of Mizuno Works here. It's been an incredible day. Kind of, talking to Mizuno-san about his style, what he's developed over the years, what he's created in, you know, a quarter of a century of work. And just going through the parts that he's accumulated in that time is just blown my mind. And, you know, the cars alone have literally like blown my mind too. It's just so much goodness. It kind of makes me want one of these kyusha cars just to add to the collection. It just fits in. It's just so Japan, it hurts. This is what Japan car culture used to be all about. And, you know, we have to make sure we don't forget about it. I mean, if you actually came, oh fuck, Dio cane, porco Dio cane.